The race for AI video is officially on, and it is heating up. In one corner, you've got OpenAI with their brand new tool, Sora 2, and in the other, you have Google stepping up with its really impressive challenger, Veo 3.
So, is this it? Is AI really the future of how we create videos? I mean, that's the question on every creator's mind right now. And honestly, the answer seems to be arriving way faster than any of us could have predicted, all thanks to these two new heavy hitters.
And you've got two of the biggest names in technology, OpenAI and Google, going head-to-head in a race to basically define what this new era of video is even going to look like. So let's dig in and see what their flagship tools are all about. All right, here's what we're going to cover. We'll get to know each of these new tools, put them side by side for direct comparison, help you figure out which one might be right for your style, and then we'll zoom out and look at the bigger picture. First up, let's talk about OpenAI's Sora 2. We're kind of nicknaming this one the social video creator, and you're about to see exactly why. So, at its heart, Sora 2 is an AI that generates both video and audio from a simple prompt. You can feed it some text or even a still image, and boom! It spits out these short, surprisingly realistic clips with sound that's perfectly synced up. And here's the kicker. Its main home is going to be a brand new app just for iOS.
Okay, let's look at what makes it stand out. First, native audio. This is a huge deal. The sound is created at the same time as the video, not just slapped on later. That means dialogue and sound effects just line up. Then there's Remix. This feature lets you create endless different versions of a single clip. You can just imagine how this is going to pour gasoline on meme culture and social media trends. And finally, something totally new, Cameos. It's an opt-in feature where you can actually cast real verified people who've given their consent, of course, as characters in your videos. Wild.
Now let's turn to the other contender, Google's Veo 3. We're thinking of this one as the cinematic integrator. Veo 3 is Google's powerful response. It's an AI video generator that lives right inside the Google ecosystem you might already be using, specifically in the Gemini app in a new tool called Flow. Just like Sora, it takes text or photos and turns them into polished, cinematic-looking clips. These are 8 seconds long and also have that all-important native audio. So what's Veo 3's superpower? It's really all about that deep integration. The Flow integration is basically a creative suite that gives you fine-tuned cinematic camera controls, letting you build out scenes. This could be a game changer for indie filmmakers who need that precise control. Gemini Access just means it's super convenient. You can create a video with a tap right where you're already working. And its whole focus is on cinematic quality, pushing for realism and high-res video up to 1080p.
All right, let's get to the fun part, the head-to-head comparison. How do these two platforms really stack up against each other?
This is where you really start to see their different philosophies. Clip length is pretty close, but the key control feature is where they diverge. Sora 2 is all about that social, playful creation with Remix and Cameos. Veo 3, on the other hand, is for the filmmaker who wants cinematic control through its Flow tool. It's awesome that both have native audio. And for safety, both are using provenance tech. Sora 2 uses something called the C2PA standard, while Veo 3 uses Google's own SynthID to invisibly watermark the content. So the big question, how can you actually get your hands on them? Well, this is a major difference. Sora 2 is starting out with an invite-only iOS app, rolling out in the US and Canada first. Veo 3, however, is already out there in many countries if you're using the Gemini app and Flow. This difference is also reflected in the pricing. Sora 2 is going to be free at first for those who get an invite, while Veo 3 is part of the paid Google AI Pro and Ultra plans.
So what this really boils down to is two totally different strategies. Google is using its existing subscriber base to get Veo 3 out there immediately. OpenAI is being a bit more cautious, taking a controlled approach with Sora 2 and building its user base slowly through that invite-only app.
Which brings us to the most important question, right? Which one of these tools is actually for you? Let's break down how to make that choice.
Look, the choice really depends on your creative style and what you need. Let's make it simple. You should probably go for Sora 2 if your goal is making quick, fun, shareable stuff on your phone. And of course, if you're willing to be patient and wait for an invite. But you should go with Veo 3 if you want that polished cinematic control right now and you're already part of the Google ecosystem. So finally, let's zoom out. Beyond this specific battle between Sora and Veo, what does this all mean for the future of video? Well, it feels like we are standing at the dawn of a completely new creative era.
The big story here, the key takeaway, is democratization. Powerful AI is taking high-quality video creation out of the hands of big studios and putting it into the hands of, well, everyone. The old barriers, things like budget and technical skill, they're just starting to melt away.
And all of this leads to one final massive question. When anyone can create a movie just from a thought, when the only real limit is your own imagination, what kind of new stories are we all going to tell? The barrier to entry is vanishing, and what comes next? That's up to all of us.